map. It changes so much of how the game is played when Fortnite, Pablo, and Chino aren't able to just conveniently take their third-party options and all those surprise pop-up performances, finding those eliminations, intercepting teams on their loop path rotates.
I like this play me out. Curly, Reed, and Cooper, they haven't had the best luck finding teams to trade shots off with the distance, and now they have to do something different, go box to box, play a little bit more aggressive. Curly's doing just that. Fortune saw it out, but they trade shots. Luckily for him, his teammates are there to save the day. Curly gets the elimination. Siphon is what he needed most in that moment, and now they get the loot. You see the extra splashes and that full loadout that they're kind of able to change things in and out. And it's a confidence boost for a team that honestly, listening to them talk yesterday, they didn't think they had their game plan anymore from what they practiced coming into the Global Championship. They had to pull something up from underneath their sleeve, and, well, that's one way to do it.
Not the only magician working in this lobby. Veno just a little bit of a heist here onto Hero. Tries to take that launch pad instead of punish for it, and Vico following up. This is exactly why you don't want to give Veno any space, because the way that they're trying to control that mountain rage now, it's forcing teams to funnel through in a way that makes it so easy for them to find those knocks and eliminations or just surge in general.
Yeah, or at least the bare minimum, get them to waste a lot of materials rotating on over into a spot where you might not be able to get much. Pickstorm, Demus, you see kind of a smooth rotation. Not too many players near them yet in the distance either, so they can focus on one thing and one thing only, getting to where they need to be. As we take a look at Rapid, Kanata, and Bolts, they started the day off with a big win. I think it was around like 101, maybe 104 points. Since then, it's been anything but perfect. But this is the real test, especially for somebody like Kanata, where I was talking about how different he looked coming into this event. Now we get to see what are you truly made of.
But they're still within striking range of top 3 within day 3. They haven't had, you know, the craziest day ever after, especially after what we witnessed in game 1. We're definitely maybe looking for Kanata, Rapid Bolts to keep seeing how consistent they could be, but until they find a way to replicate that game 1 performance, things are going to continue to get more and more difficult as everybody starts to find a better grasp, a better idea of where they want to go to try and find any little bit of placement points to put them inside of a better position for day 1 closure.
Again, I talked about Acorn, Poyo A, just going back to what has worked best coming into the Global Championship. And that's kind of setting up one of those bases. You have an abundance of heals at the Demon's Debris. You just got to figure out a way to utilize them. It's like Clicks, Higgs, and Iamzo rotating south from Supernova Academy. They were one of those teams kind of looking off into the distance, whether it was Savage, we saw moments there, Saad and Ryu up towards the top. They have multiple targets that they try to use early game to build that Storm Surge and kind of give flexibility for rotations just like this.
I think it was very smart, though, the way they were utilizing that natural map terrain, hugging towards that lower territory so they don't get spotted out from those teams that are in those high ground positions. They're just fully covered by those clip faces, but looking into what our leading contenders are getting up to, Mustache, 0 shotgun damage. And my favorite part about this morning, Jacob happened to encounter Queasy, and he made it known, we're not going to carry shotguns. We are running ARs. We are running the record revolvers. And you know what? With what they're doing, with the way that they're playing height, they're not giving anybody the luxury or the option to even try and challenge them on height. They don't have to do anything up close and personal, because if it does come down to that, they still got those record revolvers to work with, which is basically just a pistol shotgun in the first place.
How do you win back-to-back games with 0 shotgun damage? I am blown away. But that's a testament of how good they are actually playing, and the consistency is out of this world. They jump on over Kadu, Striker, and Tisco. They were so close. They had the high ground in some of our previous games, but now they need to fight out of this mess. Prodoxy, Pablo, and Chino, they're the ones on the other side. They're the ones that are putting down that pressure and not really backing down. You can see the triple weapon loadout for multiple of these players as well. They're ready to fight, and they're ready to fight big.
But Chino and Pablo, they're really looking like they're starting to find their rhythm in this lobby. They love just getting so fraggy with it. It's going to be a little bit of a hold, though, by Striker, Kadu, and Tisco, while Prodoxy takes this opportunity to heal back up. A little bit too pinched there, but Chino, he just keeps battering away at Kadu, Striker, and Tisco, and that knock now means a separate approach. Prodoxy on the flank, Chino and Pablo on the front side, and Striker doing what he can to try and hold things down, but the walls are just so difficult to break through. He's hoping to find some form of an edit, some kind of right side peek. Striker, though, no shield. Pablo, Chino, Ferdoxy, they are fully in control of this. That is until Pablo realizes it's Curly, it's Cooper, it's Reed right behind them. He doesn't have any options. They just got to reconvene with each other.
For Reed, Cooper, and Curly, there's no time like the present, and they're really trying to make these little seconds count. Able to clean up that one elimination, the extra loot, but most importantly, the Storm Surge that they're able to get. And since they're the team on the outside of this overall battle, they have the option if they want to disengage or keep putting pressure in this scenario. For Oxy and Chino, they have no other choice with or without that reboot card to try to get out and save what they have of this game. We kept talking about between them and Tayson off spawn, battling it out. You have to make sure if you win these games off spawn, you go as far into the end game with as many eliminations as possible.
For Ferdoxy and Chino, that maneuver by Reed, Curly, and Cooper, it's like getting an eyelash stuck in your eye. Just so annoying, but what can you do? Just the nature of the game here. All the while, Clicks, Higgs, Iamzo, they've caught up now to Snowy, Sad, and Ryu, and they've got them on the ropes right now, but Ryu's still looking to fight back. All of these international teams, they have not backed down even once throughout today's matches, Jacob, and they are coming with some big firepower. But Iamzo, the future, he's got to control the present right now, though. And with Clicks and Higgs right next to him, they need to find these eliminations. All of the surge would just be so impactful.
Yeah, you can see both of these teams in a relatively tough spot, forced to crouch down if they're on the low ground. But Sad, Ryu, Snowy, they're trying to go for a lurk surprise attack for getting into the box in two different directions, but the third party is in, and they run out of material. Sad is in a tough spot, and it's going to continue to get tougher. Multiple players on that trio are out of materials overall, and Iamzo finally dropping down. He's bringing the sun to a snowy day.
That's exactly what they needed. This is so much room to work with now. Iamzo, Clicks, they just continue to close in, and finally Ryu's gonna be eliminated, folded over. Almost 1,900 damage above on that surge threshold, Jacob. Perfect placement for these guys to be now. Can they convert it to the end game win that they've been seeking all day long?
Yeah, and you can see just like that with those eliminations, they move up into a top 5 spot on the leaderboard. One more elimination away from top 4. One more elimination away from that, from a top 3 at the Global Championship. This is only game number 5, though. There's going to be 7 more games. 1 more today, 6 more tomorrow before we crown our best in the world at the Fortnite Global Championship. And this could be one of them. Savage, Chap, and Reason. I was talking about Destiny. We just got to figure out if it's theirs.
And Mr. Savage, a couple of med kits to boot. Chap, Reason. They've also got the geysers just in case they need that quick stimmy of HP 30 shot. But Yuma, Rise, Koyota, a little bit of a hiccup at the starting point. Still managing to try and make it work. But Jacob, all of these teams, there's like a certain level of paranoia that starts to enter the closer and closer that everyone becomes, especially because we just know the high ground is where nobody has been able to really look towards. And yet, one more time, we're seeing a zone pull right towards Foxy Floodgate. And I almost have to, I just want to know, where is Queasy at? Because he's got to be close by.
If I'm any person in this lobby, but Queasy, of course, I'm saying please pull north. Get away from these mountain ranges. Get away from that dip in Foxy Floodgate. And if you're a team that's realizing what's happening in this game, a very, very similar zone towards last game, you got to start to look at your materials. Do we have enough? If not, how are we going to get it? Some would say maybe a refresh, farming where you can if you're on the slow side of zone, but sometimes things like that aren't always possible. And you can see Pixdarm and Demas in that exact situation. Even though they're 356 above the damage threshold, you're seeing the side that they have to rotate in, Taco, stacked like pancakes.
It's just so impressive to think that this is a team, this is their first LAN, and they're not playing anything like it. But Mr. Savage, Chap, they've now got to see if they can pull together here. Reason with a double revive, they bring him back up into the mix, but they still have such an uphill battle to tackle here because they're so far behind. And look at all these teams that are piled into the zone just in front of them. That edge is going to be tough to break into.
Yeah, and that's why you see Sphinx and them trying to be the trolls underneath the bridge, a little bit of a safer rotation, talk about natural elements to try to use and crowd some of these shots. To 488, drastically below, almost need 3 straight eliminations. Savage is looking, but he's finding nothing but the lobby. Back they go, and a huge boost right there for Muzz, Shadow, and Sphinx, because they are relatively high up above, but it's the loot. You can see half of the fizz gone, half of the splash is gone, so that was a must.
I think the bigger relief, though, for Muzz, Shadow, and Sphinx is that they know with Mr. Savage's team having been wiped, there's nobody behind them. So now they can push forward and just control that more uncontested area of the zone. Still need to be wary, though. Are catching glimpses of Kanata, Bolt, and Rabbit in the distance. And of course, Swizzy, Queasy, and Mustache steadily starting to scale their way up towards an elevated position, but there's several other teams nearby that have the same intentions.
Yeah, if you guys see multiple teams in the distance, you got Thunderbolt striking down, that Storm Surge, even though Swizzy, Queasy, Mustache don't exactly know those teams are below it, they will hear the shields crack. King's gonna go down, but Poyo is the one that's potentially stealing away those points. And maybe even the loot as it fully gets cleaned up. Swizzy, Queasy, Mustache put the full target down on a PH-in. He's just trying to get some of that loot from his fallen comrade.
Do Swizzy and Mustache ever miss?
No.
The answer's gonna be no. Okay,
No.
PH-in eliminated. Mustache with another one. But that's actually gonna be the first one of this lobby. They've just been collecting so many eliminations throughout today's lobbies, Jacob. It's almost crazy to think that that's their first, but Queasy could be in trouble. Does manage to break away from where Bolt, Rabbit, and Kanata are at, but Kanata, you know that he's scheming inside of this middle section. He wants to maybe try and set up for a free on their back target, but they know there's another team directly underneath them. And it's gonna be School and Salco caught off guard. They're not gonna be able to make that transition. Art still trying to press forward, but he's stuck in the corner. Art trying to fight back, but there's nowhere left to run, and Bolt finds that elimination.
That is a lightning strike if I've ever seen one myself. Bolt's taking down all 3 players of the NA West Major 2 champions, Arc School and Salco. And the thing about Arc School and Salco, I saw it for just a quick moment, they were below the damage threshold as well. So their aggression, even though they are picking up eliminations, isn't working out as good as they hoped.
But it's still a damper for Kanata and Bolt. Bolt's now losing all of his shields. Still, he'll have the opportunity to recover that, but it's the loss of Rapid that's really going to start impacting where Bolt and Kanata might end up here. Fortunately for them, Zone pulling a little bit away from those mountain faces, so as a duo, they can still look to break through the low ground, but Queasy, Mustache, Swizzy, Gentlemate's going absolutely ballistic in this audience right now, and for good reason. Mustache said it, we're just gonna keep winning, and they've got 3 already at the international level, Jacob. A land historic event, and they're still looking to see if they can get more.
We are literally watching the Queasy legacy in the making. Levin said it himself. The last time Queasy won 3 games in a row, he went on not only to win that major, but win 6 out of 12 games. Something that has never been done on that region of EU ever before and ever again. And this could be that moment in history that you look back at when you talk about how great Queasy actually is. It is all because of this, but there's still so many threats in their path. They just have to look up. They have to try to go for high ground and stop the plate trade. Clicks, Higgs, and Yamzo, they have been known to do it on NA Central. They just have to figure out how to do it here on the international stage.
And they might have to deal with Pars, Baka, and Pump along the way. Yapko, Seti, Panzer, they've also done a rather excellent job at just maintaining consistent performances, and they're looking for yet another repeat here, trying to clear some space in that secondary height, but they know if they want their odds to turn this into a victory royale, they're gonna need more than just secondary height. Pump falls 2 clicks. This is big time for Xset because they need to pop off here.
Yeah, they truly are looking elite as a trio and taking the front side of the zone, something Yamzo knows to do best, but they have to be careful. Marius, Vanya, and Pixie, they're bouncing around with those crash pads, instantly climbing up that mountain, and that just means better positioning right away, and it gives them that luxury to look back and see all these other players rotate through. He's peeking through the stair. He sees Acorn, Aders, and Poyo, but it's not ready to go for it just yet, and nobody has even had an opportunity to look up. They're attached at the backside of zone. They're attached right in the middle. It's not even going to be easy when somebody eventually does.
But that's the problem. Nobody nobody else can actually make their way up towards the high ground because Sweezy, Queasy, and Mustache refuse to budge. They just keep shutting down every single opportunity, forcing these teams to converge onto each other as iDrop now trying to see if he can collect an elimination there, a knock, anything. He needs a massive refresh here, but it's Pixie who finds Hottie, Marius, Pixie, and Vanya now looking to see what more they can seek out.
4 eliminations so far into the top 12. Placement points are flying in. Half of them, at least at the top 8, is Veno, Vico. They're in that line of path. Marius looking up for only a quick second. Not really focusing on the Queasy up above. It's probably too hard. You see their materials being drained right out of their inventory. Everybody else feeling the same thing. Forcing Yamzo, Higgs, and Clicks to drop down low. The blessing is they're in the front side of zone, so they have a little bit more to work with.
But the control from Queasy, Swizzy, and Mustache on the high ground, Jacob, they're forcing all of these teams to swap players to ultimate low. And with that in mind, Mustache, Queasy, Swizzy, just non-stop berating. These teams are forced. They're looking up, they're looking down, they're trying to find refreshes, but they have no breathing room. They are being suffocated right now by height.
With the conversations going on before the Global Championship, Boo probably smiling ear to ear right now with EU doing the performance that they are, but Kanata Bolts, they're trying to channel how they played in game number 1, finds a key elimination on Reed, not just elimination points, but placements as well. Cammy falls, more points from the lobby. Swizzy's trying to drop down low, he's just getting loot, he's bringing it back up to his IGL.
And that is all Swizzy has to keep tabs on alongside Mustache. Everything getting dropped at Queasy's feet so he can have the ultimate success here. But Marius, he's in too much trouble. Marius trying to squeeze away. It's Vico, it's Veno, and Flixie chasing them down. They know that they're going to have to clear out all of these players inside of these lower layers if they want a real shot at beating Queasy up on height.
Yeah, if there's any team that I think has a chance to look up and at least give them a fight, it is going to be them, as Marius is forced outside of the zone, almost a 1v1 against Clicks, and Clicks gets the knock. Can he get the elimination? No, he can't. No siphon for him, but the battle, the inevitability is finally here. Vico's taking charge, but he's also taking most of that damage. Flixie's forced to reload, and Veno is in that mid-cut as well, a challenge that they did not find success on, but relatively so. Even if they might not have the high ground, they put Queasy and Mustache on the back foot.
And that's the problem, Queasy, Mustache. They could still tank a little bit of zone here just because of that exotic fizz, but at the same time, Vico, Veno, Flixie, they're now trying to remind everybody this might be it's Queasy's tourney so far, but we still want to take the from Mustache! Mustache finding the biggest elimination of the Veno, the siphon carrying him forward, the hopes of Gentleman now resting on his shoulders. Flixie trying to hang, but Flixie wins it all, shutting down the dream here for Queasy. Veno saying it all, anything you can do, I can do better.
We talked about the 6 of 12. It was with that man right there, Veno, with Vico and Flixie by his side. They are looking like a terror on the lobby. Frankie, we gotta hear one from them by themselves.
We need to hear what you have to say, Flixie. What's it like getting a victory royale here on LAN in Lyon?
It's great. I mean, we died off spawn, we clutched the game. It's just really good.
And yeah, you clutched the game. I mean, it was quite the competition between you and the leaders of the lobby. Were you aware it was Queasy you were up against?
I mean, we knew it was Queasy, but we're just better than them, so we just went up and killed them.
I think you might need to get a few more victory royales before you can say that. I do want to come to you, Veno, obviously up against an ex-teammate you know really well. Does that make it a bit more satisfying or even a little bit more in your head? You know each other so well.
Nah, if I can't win this tourney, I want Queasy to win.
Oh, I've never heard him say such nice things. Thank you, Veno. And of course, Choco, à toi pour Vico.
How do you feel after this first victory royale, and how will you do the second one?
Hey, I mean, I feel great, you know. We finally got a win that we wanted, you know. We're still calm though, but it's kind of hard. But hey, I mean, we're doing the best of it. Next round, you know, we're gonna win our spawn. We're gonna win the game again, you know. We're gonna catch up to Queasy finally and shit. So yeah.
Ils sont très déterminés à remonter dans ce classement et à continuer de monter. Ils adorent et surtout ils sont très confiants pour aller chercher une deuxième victoire.
Are you expecting to still be contested at Canyon Crossing?
I mean, we were expecting it because they were laying down Asia, but
I think there's no point for them to contest because, I don't know, even if they're winning, they're not getting good games. So,
Well, we will see after this short break.
Welcome back, Fortnite fans, to the Global Championship. What could have ended in a crazy way results in Vico Benoflixi finding themselves a victory royale in game number 5. EU is truly on top right now. My gosh, I love the responses as well from the trio. Keeping it humble, keeping it honest. But for them, you know, especially now with one game to go, this is such a great way to go into that final game and kind of start setting up for day number 2.
Such perfect timing for these guys, right? Coming into the last game right now, winning game number 5. And in the manner at which they did it, Levin, it's very similar to what we've seen throughout this entire season, an entire sort of year from these guys. The way they play height, the way they try and retake it. Queasy did make it a little bit difficult for them. It wasn't absolutely straightforward, so they had to drop down. But, I mean, this is exactly what we expected from these guys this weekend. They're finally awoken.
I'm going to throw some shade to my brother Zeke.
No.
I'm sorry I have to do it to you, Zeke.
Don't do it.
Oh, no.
Zone 11, we're watching Flixie. He looks up to height. He's looking up. He's scouting it. Zeke goes, yeah, man, don't even bother looking at height, bro. Don't even bother looking at height.
Oh.
But again, we can't blame Zeke, right? He's been on the NA for a year, right? Us EU watchers know when it's Flixie, Veno, Vico, a late height take. Zone 11 height takes, it's their specialty. Again, like you said, not executed as cleanly, but executed like they know well. And a really big game from them here. It's a great momentum boost and a great response like they were alluding to after going down on spawn in the previous game.
Yeah. Listen, I just wanted Queasy to win again, okay? I wanted to see 6 in a row on land. Forgive me, Levin. I joined the EU crew. You know what? Maybe EU isn't on top. Going back to NA where I belong. Obviously, you know, still on the other side of that,
of course.
Easy. Like if they had won that game, it would have been insane. The fact that they placed second, though, is still amazing, right? Like you cannot deny. But of course, if they had won the game, it just would have been just the tiniest bit better. My gosh, Queasy, Merstash, Swizzy popping off here. 461 points, if I remember correctly. These guys are on fire, Mini. Yeah. I don't know how we stop them.
I mean, honestly, they were set up for success this entire end game. They really did well to claim that high ground like we expected them to do, going towards the zone. They had a nice favorable pull, of course, over to that hill. And then when Queasy actually built out into the zone, which I thought was a really nice play, if zone was to pull over that hill, it ended up pulling the other way. So they did, of course, have to invest a lot of materials, which is why they ended up going down a little bit earlier here. But, I mean, what a clutch here from Merstash. What could have been, Levin?
I mean, look, I low-key do wish we were in the alternate universe where he wins that. Because there is one, right? Yeah. He's so close. It comes down to just the difference between a little bit of damage. Regardless of that, though, right? Still a fantastic game to help them keep their lead. Keep momentum, right? Because the worst thing you can have in a situation like this, and you know, speaking of Queasy when he won 6 out of 12, it almost sort of did happen where after they had won like the 6th game, you know, they're almost like, everything's won, we've won it, you know, they have a bit of a mediocre game and like the momentum's lost, but it's fine, we've won the tournament. These guys haven't won the tournament yet, they need to keep that momentum. That's still a great game.
That's right, man. One game left to go before we say goodbye for the first half of the day of the competition. You heard that sound. The battle bus is ready. Let's get into it.
One last ride on the battle us to score things out for day one here of the FNCS 2025 Global Championship. And Leon has been absolutely electric through all of it. Massive shout outs and love to the fans here in the crowd. But firstly, Jacob, we have to tackle the elephant in the room. It's what's been taking place between Ferdoxy and Payson since we last peeked in over at Kappa Kappa Factory in the previous lobby, but now we're back at home.
I was about to laugh to myself because you're talking about Ferdoxy and Tayson, but what about the 50 other teams that end up over at Rangers Ruin throughout the course of the game?
That's what it feels
they
like.
realize how this fight goes, and typically it might be left to just one person trying to clutch up. As Ferdoxy gets that first sweeper shotgun, it's going to work out perfectly. Chicho goes down, Tayson follows next. That's back-to-back eliminations, but Chino's going to go down. That's going to give them an opportunity back, and if you notice, Ferdoxy has no more ammo in his shotgun, and Riz is trying to take advantage of that fact. He finally picks up a few, but the damage has already been done. Riz with only 3 HP, and Pablo and Ferdoxy on the other side are at least a duo, a strong duo at that, and they have a chance here to end the fight, and they do so with ease.
I want to believe, but when Pablo is just that healthy, the outcome is basically inevitable. Ferdoxy, Chino, and Pablo Wingo will play out the duration of Lobby 6, and this time it was so fast that Brazil likely won't be able to stroll on over and try to play spoiler.
I mean, I did see in the feed, there was a team that was going in that direction. They saw the fight end in the feed. They said, you know what, maybe next game, maybe tomorrow we'll do this.
Let me the other way.
Yeah, but you see what's going down here right now. They actually chose to split the drop. Toyota, Yume, and Raisei are going to take the top side of Canyon. That comes with the swarm. That comes with a little bit of XP. But Vico, Flixie, and Veno, they're taking actual Canyons crossing. There's a little bit more loot over here for them. And they said, hey, things haven't been going our way in the actual fight. Let's actually try to play some of these games out. And even last game, they did that exact thing, and it worked out. You saw them win that game.
But there's still a leaderboard that teams want to play for prizing, Jacob. Even if it might not necessarily be a threat to first, or even the top 3 in general, it's still opportunity for life-changing money, right? And Epic Whale, Paper, Victor V, they're looking to tackle Razzle, Tate, and Raito. They have primary control of Dystopia City. They have pushed Raito's team towards the edge, but Epic Whale still needs to try and connect another shot here. He knows that Paper is going to have that overhead sightseeing, and Razzle, not a whole lot of materials, but Paper just trying to stay on top of this fire, just trying to see if he can apply more pressure for Victor V to capitalize on.
Yeah, my eyes initially peeked at Shining Span where Cammy lands. I saw them, but now you saw Ritual in the distance as Vox, Ping, and Malapuka. They're taking the fight on over. That's Aspect's team, and Aspect was the one that was landing towards the Kappa Kappa factory. So you're already seeing they're changing up their game plan. They're trying to steal away some loot away from Malapuka and Wox, but that's not something you want to do at all.
And Malapuka, Wox being more than happy to try and collect whatever opportunities come their way. They're willing to try and generate these occurrences themselves, and they are just chasing these teams way out to the outskirts. This is a big commitment, but if they find the eliminations, it's all worth it.
I like what they're doing here. They're just trying to trust in each other for the most part. One's going to go on over, try to see if they can find him, which it doesn't look like they do. They immediately turn back. It's not worth it in their heads to go for it as Peterbot finally makes his position known along with Ritual and Cold, and they immediately jump onto Paper. He was positioned on top of that with his building. Tagging that team down below, was not watching his back, and that's exactly what's going to do him in the end. You see Victor V looking like the only player left alive for his team. He's just trying to disengage and at least try to give him a chance to get back on up.
But it's the fact that Victor V is still left standing. Bit tragic. The Paper, Epic Whale, they just never saw it coming. The Crash Pad Fizz combination a little bit too potent here, and Paper punished for that overhead position and not keeping tabs of what's flying through the sky after him.
Honestly, depending on where the zone goes, it's going to help their chances or hurt them for Victor V, trying to get his entire team back into the game. We kind of saw more and more teams throughout the day kind of move over into this position, and that's going to remain the same. One all the way towards the north. Tisco and his trio, literally inside of Rangers Ruin as well, but they're positioned above. And then Ferdoxy who obviously knows where that team's at, where they're positioned, and he's at least trying to shoot off shots in their direction with that Stinger SMG, so he knows it's not going to get a ton of damage, but anything's better than nothing.
And for Doxy, Pablo, and Gino have just been playing whack-a-mole all day long. It's like the moment they take out one team, they still got to deal with another one popping up from seemingly nowhere, and Pablo still working through the lobby. Brise and Coyota going to be victims at the other end of that shotgun barrel, but Yuma still trying to do what he can to pick up the pieces here. It was a nice knock onto Gino. Unfortunately, the 1 versus 2 situation, that's just so hard to convert into a victory there. So they're going to be put down temporarily, but things are getting messy here in the south side.
Yeah, this is not where I expect Veno and Vico and Flixie to kind of end up, going all the way towards the south side of the map. That's given Alex and On and Resigns an opportunity to get the early surge, steal away some of this loot. And you can see what Veno, he has really no other choice. He knows the full team is all around, and a third party closed off into the distance. Even with 69 HP, he does have some extra shields, but he doesn't want to give away his position with those audio visuals. Alex finally found him out, and the full team is wiped off from Victory Royale to 30th place.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter where Veno tries to go after that. Alex Resigns and Anon, we're never going to let them leave this vicinity. It's just way too primed up of a chance, and they're not going to come by often, but still, Alex Resigns got to keep open eyes on the map because Mixin and Focus, they might just have a chance to shut down everything that Alex just worked to accomplish. But Alex spots him out through the window, and Alex not going to be able to get that shot just yet, but still, the damage has been done. Focus, Mixin, they're bailing.
Yeah, and they're only a duo. That's basically giving away your position for Alex and On and Resigns to make that decision. Do we fight it? Do we beat him on towards the mountain priority position? What's more important here? And I honestly like their decision to close out the day, play a little bit more aggressive, try to get more points, and already they get the knock onto Focus. Now they're in a 3v1 situation, and they're already spotting Mixin on the other side. He tries to go for the 1v1, the 50-50, and it's so quick. Alex, Resign, and Anand, they get their 4th elimination of the game.
And look, the leaderboard might be telling one story, but the real narrative is that Oshi's got some real fighting power with Alex, Resigns, and Anand. And it's unfortunate that they just haven't had anybody to really get their surge in, so it's just been so difficult for them to actually traverse every single one of their rotates, if they even make it off of their initial drop in the first place. But it's been a completely different story, as we all know, for Swizzy, Queasy, and Murstache. They have been titans of this lobby, and even with Murstache being knocked, no problem whatsoever, because they're not going to be keyed anytime soon. It's just not worth the effort from the team that they're trading blows with. They know it's way too dangerous to actually make that trek.
And it's almost kind of like having me ask myself the question in my head for Vortex, Goofy, and Mountain. When do you stop targeting Queasy and his entire trio on the other side? Because even though that's helping them get some Storm Surge, it's helping Queasy, Murstache, and Swizzy a lot more, and they're bringing it much further on into the game. In the feed, Arc taking down one of the members of OCE Power's team. Peterbot, Ritual, and Cold, because of their early aggression, they're able to get the Queen out of Dystopia City and immediately make their way on over towards that vault, where they're not only able to have that mythic AR, but they have the exotic as well.
And while we are seeing some mild forms of success currently for Peterbot, Ritual, and Cold, the big thing to keep in mind here, Jacob, is that for a lot of these international teams and just other teams in the lobby in general, it can be very difficult to really find an opening. And you know, you're talking about Goofy and Mountain and what they're capable of, and is this even worth taking the battle? But they're in a pick your poison situation. They're so far northwest, their only options are Muzz, Mr. Savage, or Queasy. And they just keep landing on Queasy every time, while King and Phaser try to recover this battle up against Chino, Pablo, and Prodoxy.
Ooh, almost landed that good shot, but King, honestly, watching him throughout the season, when it comes to this double pump, it packs so much of a punch. He has Prodoxy and Chino on the slivers of HP, but unfortunately, the bait and switch comes through yet again. Pablo, knowing his teammates are weak, takes charge, gets that elimination onto King, leaving Phaser by himself. But it's so early on in the game, Taco. Third zone, 1 tick. Even though he has only 1 med kit, I'm not too worried because they're going to have to rotate out of that position.
Look, we know that King is good at fighting, but in this lobby right now, Pablo has just been better with everyone that he stumbled across, and that kind of performance can carry them a long way. It's starting to feel a little reminiscent, Jacob, of that early performance that they had to start this day off. 85 points secured in one lobby. And who's to say they couldn't do it again?
Yep. You can see Zeddy, Epto, and Panda have taken the most storm damage of all teams. With the way some of these games have been going, not too surprised. Zone moving towards the north in a couple of games, all the way towards the west. They land at Kappa Kappa. They have a contested fight, and then so many other teams along the way, they almost have no other choice, especially since this has been a huge part of their strategy when it comes to these surge bases, and they have that abundance of extra HP, so it's no worries.
But the conversation that's been building between the Seti-Cammy breakup, and we're looking at both of these separate trios having so much consistent success that they are both within our top 5 here in day 1. There's a real chance for Seti and Cammy to try and see, you know, who is really the problem. And right now, based off their performances, Jacob, I don't think either of them were. I think they were both just ready for a switch up.
I know when we talk about like some teams just forming, you know how they sometimes hit that honeymoon phase? What a perfect time for them to hit that phase and keep that consistency going. Coming together, qualifying in Major 3, and really taking that opportunity, just that chance to play at the Global Championship and running away with it. Same with Vanya, Marius, and Pixie. They get their drop spot uncontested. And honestly, whether it's contested or not, we saw Cold and his trio try to go ahead and make that their home, but that was quick work for them off that 50-50 drop off the side of the mountain, where you're seeing a lot of our top teams here, how they're rotating with the zone pulling towards the south. A lot of them are beating other teams to the punch. They're not taking that crowded position in towards the zone.
But this is really nice for Clix, Higgs, and Yamza as they continue to press forward because they're approaching that mountain range overhead of Foxy Floodgates. They're coming from that north side position, pushing south. They're going to have that little bit of elevation to work with, and we've even got a nice little listening to see what Clix has been getting up to.
They're in streaming.
Yeah, look at them. Look at this.
Shoot.
3, 2, 1.
30.
Go. Let's go. Let's clash, please.
No. We full greet them.
I like it. They got the damage. And Higgs, for a moment, was like, hey, let's go. Let's pick up the elimination. Let's go and go for more. But they realized they're at the top side of the leaderboard. They don't have to take any unnecessary risk to close out the day. This is game 6 out of 12. So we got 6 more games tomorrow. And so honestly, for a lot of these teams, you just want to get as close to Queasy, Merstash, and Swizzy as possible so we have a chance tomorrow.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned Queasy, Swizzy, and Merstash, Jacob, because while they're here tackling Brazil, PH, Zen, Phaser already knocked. That's going to be the eliminations there. Excuse me, that's going to be King instead. But Jacob, so much damage having been done there. And Queasy now on the back foot. He's actually going to have to depend on Merstash and Swizzy to close this one out because Chino, Ferdoxy, Pablo, they've now entered this battlefield. And Ferdoxy, he doesn't seem interested in leaving anytime soon.
This is a blessing. This is a blessing for the entirety of the lobby, not just for Doxy, Pablo, and Chino here in this situation. You take them down, and I like taking matters into your own hands because 4th place, first place, second place for Queasy and them off the top of the leaderboard. You cannot expect them to go down early. Sometimes you have to do things yourself. Phaser might not even know that there's a whole trio up above, but he might not have the HP. Storm Sickness is a possibility. He might have no other choice but to move into this trio.
It's just witnessing what Ferdoxy, Pablo, and Chino are able to accomplish when they finally have an opportunity to make it off spawn, Jacob. They've had to deal with so much action throughout every single one of these lobbies here today, and yet they are still managing to manifest these opportunities for themselves.
You can see they're even so close to Pix, Darm, and Demas, who are playing out of their minds, not just here, but all year long. And you could see the zone moving over towards Demon's Debris, them and a bunch of other teams. They're kind of setting up. They're not necessarily going for high ground. They feel like they have enough surge to make that not necessarily a worry, but they're just trying to go over towards those mountains just in case we get one of those max pulls towards the west, which I do like thinking 2, 3, 4 steps ahead, even though it's relatively early. The 4th zone, you sometimes, with the way this finals has been going, you want to prioritize your rotation and your overall positioning.
And Pixstar and Demas, they're just so central right now. They're not really feeling too much pressure to leave just yet. And they're also having to monitor Pixie, Vanya, Marius directly directly next to them, so it's not like it'd be an easy rotation just yet either. But Mr. Savage, Reason, they're trying to see what they can do up against the likes of Tisco and Kadu. But Striker might just be looking to try and hold them down. But Reason, nice chunk of HP there. He's going to go missing from Kadu. Reason now on the ropes, so he's not going to be able to break away. Mr. Savage trying to provide coverage fire. Right side peek, a little bit in his favor, but Kadu still relatively healthy in comparison to Savage.
He does have 6 different crash pads. He does have the Flowberry Fizz. But does he have the reboot cards, and does he have a chance to get them? For Tisco and Kadu, they're in a very, very similar spot, but not as drastic. Only Striker is down, so they are going to be a duo in this situation, not too far away from the overall zone. So they, too, if they have that reboot card, they can immediately move on over towards Ranger's Ruin to try to get that reboot back, and that's exactly what they want to do. Savage has no other choice but go the other direction towards Foxy Floodgates, which is good because now he has a chance for the reboot, but he's moving closer and closer to other teams while being almost 300 damage below the threshold.
But that's the problem. He's so low on his surge damage, and even with a successful reboot, hold that thought though, Pollo finally seeming to get a nice elimination here onto Kazi, and that kicking open the doorway. They need some kind of catalyst because they've had a very scrambly day so far.
Second time's the charm. Second time is the charm, but they're deep in the zone. Not a lot of heals. Phaser and King are both relatively low. You gotta hope they have something, but they have nothing. Phaser's gonna be the first one to drop. He hits in, realize I cannot be the hero. I have to go. He has no heals either. Even though this is a one tick, he has about 50 seconds on the clock to either find elimination or find any sort of heals, bandages, anything.
Oh man, Merstash, does he realize what's behind him? But PA's in. If he gets the jump onto Merstash, that could be very problematic still. Merstash at least has Swizzy and Queasy. And a good replenish, but Merstash knows it's cooked from this point. He can't press forward any longer. Maybe there's a reboot later.
Got the down onto Merstash. I don't even know how he was the last one to do damage. PHZin did not know where Merstash was, and even if he did, he wouldn't have gotten a siphon, but he had heals. Merstash being down now leaves Queasy and Swizzy with a decision. Do we go back into zone? Do we get our teammate back up because no man left behind, or do we continue on as a duo?
Right now, all I'm thinking about is what Ferdoxy, Pablo, and Chino are getting up to, Jacob, because they're really starting to make a tear into this lobby. Kadu, Tisco, slight pause here. They pick up Striker, bring him back into the mix. Not a whole lot of resources available for some of these teams, though, that are just hugging the outskirts right now. There's been so many hiccups across the way. But Clixie, Yamzo, and Higgs, they've still managed to find their footing on the side of the mountain face at Canyon Crossing.
Yeah, now they're positioned right next to Kanata. That's the knock they got earlier, where they were able to kind of accumulate a good amount of surge. Now they look towards the bottom side of that mountain. Balor, Mantor, and Adapter are the ones that are taking a lot of that focus, and they're inching closer and closer to Gabzera, Scarpa, and Way as well. Kanata knows and sees all the same things along with Rapid and Bolts, if he is still there. And they're all kind of targeting off the side of the mountain, just trying to take advantage of every team that's a little bit too slow to rotate.
It's just so dangerous to go for some of these half-wall edits, the window edits. You peek too long, you might find yourself getting picked off along the way. But right now, Marius, Pixie, Vanya, all they're focusing on is how to find the best success in this last lobby. Doesn't matter how you start, what matters is how you finish, and that goes for day one here at the Global Championship.
That stat was crazy. Even though they're at the top of the leaderboard, they've taken more damage than they've dealt. But that just goes to show, like, how risky they're willing to play in order to get those eliminations, in order to be able to stay alive and build up that Storm Surge. As I see Arc taking out Alex, Anon's gonna get taken down by School. Not sure if OCE is still alive, but NA West trying to bring themselves back into this. And just by the looks of it, zone pulling so far away, Queasy, Swizzy, they realize there's no chance to get Merstash back into the game, so we have to make our numbers count.
But without Merstash, Queasy recognizes, hey, I'm going to have to shift into gear and bring to light what kind of fragging capability I might actually be able to unleash, because some of these other teams that are just doing everything in their power to try and play catch-up, you can never discredit what they might be able to accomplish. For Doxy, Gino, Pablo lurking at the very bottom of it all. They've got so much surge already. They can play fully for positioning, but Cold, Ritual, Peterbot, they are looking rough right now. They still have a good chunk of resources to actually bring their HP back up, but they're still just in such a tight position, and no one is even backing down. All day long, teams have been openly embracing the fight with Peterbot, Cold, and Ritual.
Yeah, drop spot aside, this is a game with the loot and the loadout that he has. You really have to make it count. Teddy Apko and Panzer, 678 above the damage threshold. They may not know Resigns is getting ticked by Storm Surge, but if they were close by, they could probably hear the shields crack, as Victor V is close by as well. I did see a couple of his teammates go down in the feed. I don't know if he's entirely a solo, but hey, it's Victor. Oh, well, no, that wasn't my fault, Taco. That wasn't my fault.
Okay, Ozzy.
That was Ozzy. He's doing a watch party upstairs. It's definitely Ozzy's fault.
Oh, yeah, but for Doxy, on the other end, he's actually got a glimpse of Queasy up in the skies. Queasy, having been spotted out, he knows this is trouble. We've got to start maybe working our way down. This is not the spot to be, but Gino, Pablo, for Doxy, they don't care. They're looking to fully collapse. They see that Queasy is weakened, and they've actually completely overthrown the ultimate high ground position. But the fact that Queasy and Swizzy are still alive, Jacob, it's still the potential for placement points to keep building.
Yeah, this is almost looking like a full circle moment, because remember, it was Ferdoxy, Pablo, and Chino the ones that even took down Merstash in the first place and put him in such a rough spot overall, and they really haven't been able to recover from it since. Take a look at some of the action going down around the lobby. Kanata just taking matters into his own hands. The first knock, that was easy. The second one somehow was easier, and now Kanata's looking to pressure that third elimination. And that's something big for them, because you can see he's all by himself, still taking pressure, still taking damage from all directions, and quickly running out of builds.
But if it resembles a shotgun, Ganada can still max it out, and that's all he's looking for. A couple of Flowberry Fizzes still left at his disposal. Seti, rather weakened, but his trio mates still way too healthy. Panzer and Yapko can just overtake that tarp responsibility here. Panzer now holding down the walls. Hoyo, Agers, Acorn directly underneath. The elevation shifts can be brutal, but for Gino, Pablo, and Ferdoxy, all above it all, they have no issues whatsoever, which is suppressing these lower teams.
This is our time right here to move up that leaderboard and hopefully maybe even get into the top 5, especially being contested by not only Tayson, but as that fight ends, so many other teams moving over in that direction as well. Marius, Pixie, and Vanya, this is one of the teams that they have to potentially go through as well. As you're seeing, Vanya get another elimination onto Mountain. That's their second one overall. 254 above the damage threshold. They're not focusing on taking any fights that they don't have to. Yamto clicks, they both fall. Storm Surge is a huge thing that's taking them all out as the full trio's back to the lobby. Now Acorn's pressuring in. Marius sees him coming from a mile away. He goes up and over, dunking on him yet again. Now it's him versus Boyo. Zone's gonna finish the job. Marius with back-to-back eliminations.
Marius did such an excellent job at just pushing them fully back. That is a huge come up here as Agers now forced to try and see if he can bring it together. But Marius, he's just not slowing down anytime soon. Just continuing to barrel his way forward inside of the mid-ground layers. Ferdoxy, Pablo, Chino with height in their control. I just don't see a way for anybody else to actually jump up towards them anytime soon. And Chino just continues to spray all those teams making their way towards the front side of zone.
And they even reinforced it on their way on over, patiently waiting for the zone to pull. It's going to work out in their favor for the most part. And you see Pablo right now, he's the one building their top on over because he has the double pump. Letting his teammates put pressure down from above is a huge part of their game plan. As they're 257 above, Swizzy, he has taken down Peterbot, their third elimination of the game, and they're cruising inside of the top 12. This is what I'm talking about. You cannot expect this team to just go down without a fight.
It's the boost of materials that they have to work with too. Yapko recognizing directly overhead He doesn't have an opportunity here. Wixie on the other end of his wall. Yapko gonna be forced to layer swap here. He is dropping to ultimate low, but he has hardly anything left to work with here, Jacob. Backside of zone. Anyone, it might just be Ping who comes up upon Yapko, but instead it's gonna be Marius, Pixie, Vanya. Now looking to play spoiler to these teams in the mid-ground. Marius just continue to tear away at everybody's HP.
Yeah, that double pump, and he's putting it to use. Arm is down in the outside of the zone. Marius is gonna clean that one up. Couple more points, push them further and further closer to Queasy, who's still alive, by the way. Yapko is solo. He's just trying to get the most out of this as possible. Only 5 on the med miss, no extra build, scrambling around, trying to catch somebody off guard, but it's he who falls to Pixie.
Chino, Pablo, and Prodoxy still in the high ground. Swizzy and Queasy now working through ultimate low. This is a night and day difference for loadouts, but Swizzy still trying to bring it all together. He only has 5 builds, but he has to take a chance to heal, and Queasy picks it up where he left off. Eliminations onto Tisco now means that Queasy has some material to work with, and Marius, he's tarping his way through, but he might just run smack dab center into where Queasy is at, not to mention Proxy, Pablo, Chino overhead.
This is a good moment for all the players down low. They're distracted up above, but not too distracted. They drop down. Surprise attack coming from above. Down goes Queasy. Pixie's gonna follow as well. Vanya's now by himself. He gets taken down by Chino. Pablo, Tino, they're the only 2 alive for the team from high ground to low. They're trying to take the fight to Demas, and that one is gonna be solidified. And a much-needed siphon comes in just in time. A 2v1 situation, and it's Pix. He's so far out of zone, and the last medkit has already been used. A last desperation attempt to make his way into the zone, and it does not work. Prodoxy, Pablo, and Chino take the game.
They knew that they were going to need an insane performance to close out the day. It's been a bit of a scuffle here, Jacob, but finding this victory royale in the final hour of day 1, that could be the ultimate difference maker, starting things off in day 2. First and foremost, though, we gotta see what they have to say.
Prodoxy, stand up for me, please. Cast your minds back to game 1, where you were quite frankly destroyed off spawn by Tayson. But after that, you managed to turn it around. So many reboots, and finally, the victory royale. How does that feel?
I mean, after 4-2 off spawn and getting 3rd quite every game, it feels nice to finally get to play another game out.
And for you, in those final moments as well, is the communication in a busy venue like this on LAN coming naturally? What's it like?
I mean, repeat the question, please?
I'm just asking how the comms are going.
Yeah, we can't. Oh, I mean, yeah, the MA fans are nice to have here. It's a good, it's just good vibes, yeah.
Good vibes, good vibes. Choka.
C'est une très bonne vibe, il vient de dire. Vous mettez une très bonne ambiance, le public. Merci beaucoup. I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Will you manage to have lots of more victory royale? How will you do it?
Can you say it again?
How will you have more victory royale?
For us, it just depends all on the off-spawn. If we win off-spawn, we're gonna get a good game no matter what, basically.
S'ils gagnent tous ces contests, eh bien, ils vont tout gagner.
Gino, you've had some hero plays today. What is driving you and the team right now after some difficult starts?
I don't know, after this year in EU with my trio, I just feel like we're the best trio here and nothing can stop us.
So tomorrow, more victory royales to prove your domination.
For sure, for sure.
Well, congratulations, guys. One more time, Leon, please. Pablo, Chino, and Prodoxy! Let's head back to the desk.
Dude, we gotta give him a hand, right? I mean, come on. The final game of the day to get a victory royale in that fashion. And guys, 19 eliminations? What is happening?
Oh, it's ridiculous. It really shouldn't be allowed. I mean, you look at these guys earlier on when they won their first game off spawn, right? Obviously, Tayson came out, you know, off the blocks hot, but then those guys won game 2 and they were being so aggressive. Yeah. And I was like, okay, they're trying to make up for lost time here. I mean, this was another example of that. these guys have this ability. If you watch EU over the past 2 seasons, you'll know they have this ability. But again, to have the hubris to do this at the Global Championships, at the biggest event of the year, just shows how confident they are in their ability.
So much confidence. They were the thorn in the side of so many teams inside of this lobby, and this is exactly how we expected them to play. I think they would have been a little bit disappointed as to how the off-spawn battles have been going, especially with the third parties coming in as well. Even when they're winning, there's teams coming in, making things really, really difficult for them. But this is the Fredoxy, Pablo, and Chino that we know. We know how great they can be in these final moments, and especially for Queasy's team, right? We saw how well they did, but Pablo, Chino, and Fredoxy, not only did they W-key them to eliminate Queasy initially, they also chopped them down from height, right? And made that crazy play to make that high ground take. And wow, this is exactly what we want to see in a perfect end to day number 1 for them.
You could almost see the frustration from them, right?
Yeah.
They weren't even celebrating too tough because it was like they know, and Pablo alluded to it, like, if we weren't Con, we'd be having these kind of games all the time, right? We might be a whole different type of competition had that been the case. So, big ups to these guys. Hope to see them sort of find some more momentum tomorrow.
That's right. So remember, this first 6 games is about setting the stage going into tomorrow's games. Guys, I want to go to the top. Queasy, Murstache, and Swizzy. I do not know how this continues to happen, right? But guys, it cannot continue to happen like this, can it?
It can.
It definitely can. I mean, looking at this, 521 points for Queasy, Swizzy, and Moustache. I mean, what I love, right? We talk about the Victory Royales. 3 Victory Royales, incredible on the day. Huge amount of eliminations. What I love, their ability to pick up the pieces, even when things don't go their way. We saw it in game number 1. They set up a hype really nicely. Everything was looking good. The zone doesn't pull their way. They said it in the interview afterwards. We got unlucky there. Well, look out for us in the next games. And what did they then go on and do? Unbelievable stuff. In that game, we saw it, of course, very, very split. Queasy going down. Then they had to try and find that reboot. And then, of course, we saw Moustache going down in the storm. The fact that Queasy and Swizzy were able to do so well in that game just shows they have everything that it takes to go all the way.
To me, that's actually the most important game. That's the game that if they go on to win the Global Championship, now you look back at that game and you say, this was it, right?
Yeah.
Because truly, a lot of people will look at a lot of their performance today and go, Levin, their game plan is so straightforward, right? They're sitting up in that base at the hive. It's so easy for them. A lot of other teams can't do that, right? But they have a game like that one where the game plan gets interrupted. They can't do what they've been doing the previous 5 games, and they still find a way to deliver. Again, the makings of, just an absolute goated team.
It sends a message, right, to the rest of the lobby. No matter what's going to happen, even if we get into fights, they have the ability to sort of disengage, dip from the fight, find reboots, have that gameplay IQ that we know that this team can do. But now, going into day number 2, if a team's a little bit lower down, this drop spot that they have at the Hive, right? They have the Queen there. They have all of that great loot. We've seen it be so successful for them. Will they get landed on? I'm not too sure, but that could be a problem.
And Levin, how many points back in last Globals? How many points did Peterbot Pollo go into day number 2 with?
Last year, after day 1, we were all sitting here going, wow, Peterbot Pollo, man, these guys are going to go on to win the whole thing. They had about 440 points, right? These guys have 500 plus. These guys are rolling right now. I mean, 3 Victory Royales back to back to back. This is something we will talk about forever in Fortnite history, in the context of, one, they still have another day to just keep adding to that total, right? They can still get more and more wins, but the 3 games in a row, it's just mental to me.
I mean, guys, we've got to hear from Queasy himself. Frankie is standing by right now to get his thoughts after the first 6 games.
The king of the high ground has joined me and Choco back in the player lounge. Queasy, last year it was day 2 where you had to make up the shortfall, but on day 1 you're sitting clear at the top of the leaderboard by 101 points. The question is, can you keep this up?
I hope so. I mean, I think we're going to change a lot of stuff for day 2, make sure our plans are perfect for any sneak attempts and stuff like that. And we'll see tomorrow.
So the changes is not because the current game plan isn't working, it's because of the fact that now you know that there's a target on your back.
Yeah, I think so. But I feel like we're so far ahead that if people are actually trying to land on us and do stuff like that, they're just griefing themselves more than us. Because I don't know.
Well, we haven't seen you contested yet.
Yeah, we haven't.
We will see.
We've seen the Major 2 and Major 3.
We have, but not on LAN.
And so you'll change maybe few things, but are you confident for tomorrow that you'll keep your consistency during the games?
If we play our early and mid game the same, yeah, easily.
All right, so for you, confidence is a key, or it's more training?
I mean, it's all practice. Practice makes perfect.
Looking at the lobby so far, who do you think is potentially going to be a threat, and who do you think could try and sneak attack you tomorrow?
I don't know, half the lobby, but we'll see, I guess. I don't know. I guess going into it, I thought it was Vanya, but they're kind of like staying on low ground, so I think we're fine.
Yeah, last year they were all about the high ground, but now they'll take what they can get, and they are coming up behind you, so we'll see tomorrow. Queasy, congratulations. Let's head back to the desk to close out day one.
You know, one of my favorite things about Queasy is the fact that, like, even when you show up on the biggest stage that there is and you win 3 games back to back, you're still ice cold. You know, you're still just calm, cool, and collected. I feel like if that's me and I just put on that performance, I'm geeking, right? I'm freaking out. I'm excited. I'm trying to keep the emotions back, but I can't. But Queasy's like, hey, look, there's still 6 games tomorrow to go, Zeke. If I want to win this thing, I got to stay locked in.
First things first, you'll find any reason to geek out, Zeke. We know that. But most importantly, job's not finished.
Yeah.
Job finished? I don't think so. He knows that. Queasy knows that better. Queasy knows that better than anyone, right? He's had to go to the last game of Global Championships multiple times, so he will be locked and loaded. I like Frankie's line of questioning, though, because this is something we have to start talking about now.
Yeah.
If these guys keep on leading the way, are people going to start looking at the Hive? Is anybody crazy enough to decide, hey, man, we got to try catch up to first place somehow. Let's just land on them. I mean, I don't want to speak into existence, but it's always a possibility.
No, you can. Feel free.
We'd love to see it, right, as a neutral viewer, but I think for them, knowing Queasy, they would have prepped for that outcome, that possibility, right? They would have prepped every single possibility in that current off-spawn situation. So I don't think that'll bring them nerves at all. I think, you know, Queasy spoke really well in that interview right there, and you need that from your IGL. I know you're saying like, oh, I'd be going crazy, right? But, you know, you need that sort of calm force in the team, that calming nature that Queasy have is going to be so crucial. And like you said, it's all about that experience that he's had, maybe not doing so good, and maybe getting ahead of himself after day number 1, that's now forming this sort of personality, if you like, after this.
Yeah, I mean, hey, look, ultimately we might be looking at our next global champions, and I'm okay. Queasy, you can continue to be like that, be ice cold. Maybe we can finally get EU a title. I'm just kidding anyway. I'm Team EU, by the way, now. I've jumped ship. I'm on their side.
We're not letting you on the ship no more, man. The ship sailed. The ship is long gone.
Man overboard, and it's Zeke quite quickly.
Well, Fortnite fam, that wraps up day number 1 on the Fortnite Global Championships. Tomorrow we return with 6 more games. After those 6 games, we will know who will walk away as global champions. Tomorrow we'll be back. We'll set the stage. We'll get some more games. And then we'll wrap up with some incredible Fortnite action. With that being said, as always, until tomorrow, we love you, keep yourself safe, and we'll see you on that battle bus.